everyone and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nicole and I'm a part-time reseller on Poshmark, and I am so excited because the Smart List AI feature has been released to my app and I am now able to test it out for you guys and show you, is it worth using? What are the pros and cons? What does it actually do? I'm gonna walk you through a step-by-step tutorial on how I'm using it and show you really everything about it. I have a lot of thoughts so far and I'll let you know if it's worth using or not. So definitely make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss a future video like this on this channel. And also make sure you give this video a like if you like this kind of content. Okay, so if you have been living under a rock and you have not heard, Poshmark has released the Smart List AI to everyone on Poshmark, and if they haven't already gotten it to you yet, you will get it by the end of this month on Poshmark. So definitely keep updating your app or make sure it's on auto update so you make sure that you get these updates. And you will notice as soon as you go in to take a picture to upload a listing, you'll see the Smart List AI option. And you can toggle it on or off if you want to use it. I have heard from a few people that if they toggle it off, it still kind of generates a few things. I haven't really tested that out myself. Maybe I can do a little quick demo on the side here and show you if it does that or not. I'm excited to actually use it and test it out. So let's kind of go through an example. I did a couple different tops just to kind of see how it would describe a shirt. So I tested this out with 3 different listings that I had already taken photos of, and I have some feedback and I will walk you through each of the different examples. So basically how it works is you pull in the photos of the item that you want. So in this first example, I'm going to pull in a black floral crop top. And so in the first video that I did, when this was like my first initial reaction to using it, I only pulled in the cover photo of the item, and I realized that for it to really generate the whole listing, you needed to pull in all of the listings. So then after I did that, I then generated all of the listing photos, and then I hit the auto generate button at the bottom, which is going to then generate a new description. But if you notice, when I only had the one photo, it did come up with a description and a title, briefly, and then when you add in more photos as you go through, it then will generate the colors. So in this case, it generated that it was black and pink, and it kind of switched up the title and the description a little bit. So I noticed that every time you hit that generate button at the bottom, it switches up the description and it switches up the title to give you different words and different things. So if you don't like what it generates the first time, you can click that button and it will generate something completely different, and then you can kind of change it to be what you want. So one thing I noticed with this is it called it a crop top in the title, but then when it selected the category, when I had all the pictures listed, it put it in the women's intimate section, which is not correct because this is just a regular crop top. So I went in and changed that myself, and I don't really know how it detected that, but I mean, it got it correct in the title that it was a crop top. So all you do is click on the little category at the bottom, and then you would click women's tops and then crop tops, just like you would if you were going to list the item yourself. So I ended up just auto generating the brand, the category, and the size. And I thought it was going to actually auto-generate those, so that was something I thought was going to happen with the Auto List AI. I thought it was going to be able to capture the size and the brand from the tags, which is what they kind of talked about at PoshFest, but I didn't think it was able to capture the brand, and it wasn't able to do it on any of the 3 items that I did as a test in this video. So I ended up just filling in the brand myself, and I ended up filling in the size, even though I took a picture of the size tag. And I also ended up filling in the category because I said it got that category incorrect. And then after I filled in those 3, I also then filled in my own price, which it did give you a suggested price, which I don't really know how it was generating that either. I guess it was generating it based on the category that it thought it was. So I ended up just putting my own price in there, and I think that's probably the best and safest way to do it for now. So while it did a good job of kind of describing the piece, it talked that it was floral, it said that it was a crop top, it said it was black and pink. It covered all those points, but it really did miss some key points. So 1, it missed that it was a V-neck, which is, an essential way to describe something. 2, it didn't call it, like a spaghetti strap or a thin strap tank top, or it didn't mention that it had adjustable straps, which are taken in the photos. It didn't mention that the entire back of the top is smocked, which again is a crucial detail in this kind of case because people like when things are smocked. And then the final thing that it didn't really, get in those photos is that the top part of it is basically like a built-in bra, which I don't know how it would have generated that, but those are details that it really missed, and those are important details that I would definitely want to mention in the listing description. It also did not mention that it was a new with tag item, which I didn't know if it was going to or not. And so I then put that in the description myself. So basically, when it auto generates, the description, you can change it to be whatever you want. You can take out certain things, you can add certain things. So I ended up adding all those important details, such that it was new with tag, and that it was smocked in the back, and that it had a built-in bra, that had adjustable straps, because those are all really important details to me as well. So like I mentioned, I was really hoping that the auto AI would be able to generate that and notice certain things. It would notice that it was new tag, it would notice the brand and the size. I was really hoping that it would get that, but maybe in time it will, or maybe with a different piece it will. But like I mentioned, the 3 that I test in this video, it doesn't get any of them. So those are just details I have to fill out. But I will say it does give you a good general description of something to work with, because sometimes I don't know how to describe a top or a pattern or something. And you'll see in a later example that it really just kind of describes it better than like what I could. So I do really enjoy that it kind of gives you like that head start, but you do end up having to fill in a lot of the categories and change things yourself, which we all kind of expected that was going to be the case. So when you hit next, when you're done changing everything, when you're done updating everything, you would hit the next button, and then that would basically prompt you to list the item. So it would say, how do you want to list this? Do you want to share it to followers? Do you want to share it to parties or anything like that? So basically make sure that your template is complete, and make sure your template is done and ready when you want to go and do that. Or you can basically create the template ahead of time, use the tool, and then you could just save it as a draft by hitting the cancel button, and then it would say save as draft. So that is the first example that I was going to go through in this video. I'm going to go through another example just because I wanted to test out 3 different tops that were, completely different in pattern and color and things like that, to really see if it would gauge the different patterns and how it would describe things. So the next one that we're going to work on is a black and pink top. Now the whole top is black and the bottom half is all pink floral. It is a long sleeve top with a Henley style button at the top. So the first time I scanned this photo, I actually got that it had the right color. So it had black and pink as the colors. But then when I hit the auto generate button again, just again playing around with it, testing it out to see what it would do, it actually ended up changing it to blue and pink, which is not right because it is black and pink. So definitely be careful when you are playing around with it and you're really just testing it. You may end up like clicking the wrong, like it may switch it to a different color or things like that. So you definitely want to double check after it goes through the listing, make sure that everything is correct, because like I said, it kind of just subtly changed that. And so then when it went to tag that it was blue and pink, that's when I noticed too that it was incorrect. The other thing that this example didn't recognize is in the photo, it didn't recognize that this was a tunic length top. Now again, I don't know what it would be able to gauge based on that, so that is just something I added to the title and added to the category when I went to tag it. It also didn't recognize that it was a Henley style top, which I mentioned in the earlier point, which is just like the button down detail at the top. So I definitely added that into the title and the description as well. This piece didn't have a brand, but it did have a size, so I went in and filled in the size tag because again, it did not capture that from the photos. One thing that's important to notice is it did capture that it was a floral top, and it did capture the colors in the first generation, but it did not notice that the flowers were only on the bottom portion and that they were only where the pink portion is. And I think that's an important detail to mention because the whole top is just plain black. And so that is something I would also add into the description and make sure that it's really capturing it correctly, because you don't want the person to think that the floral is all over the top. The other thing that's important to mention with this listing and any other listing is make sure you're talking about like the material and stuff. While putting the material in the tags and in the photos is great, I also talk like, is the material stretchy? Is it thick? Is it, things like that. So this is a very, very soft, stretchy material, so I definitely would include that in the description as well. Okay, so this last example that I did is just a casual, but like sort of somewhat dressy, button-down collared shirt. And it actually thought it was a blazer, which I guess it could be confusing because it looked like it, could have been a blazer, but it's really just a button-down shirt. And it has like this really interesting pattern to it, and I was wondering how it was going to describe that. And if you notice in a couple of different of the generations, it will call it elegant, it will call it a luxurious, all these different adjectives. These are really words that I wouldn't necessarily use to describe it, but it kind of like gives you an example of something that you could use, and then you could change it to what you want each time. This just kind of really gave me some insights on the pros and cons of the tool. The pros that it really does do is it gets you the bare minimum. It tells you a little bit about the top. It kind of describes it in different ways that you would have been able to describe, and it really just helps you get a jump start on your listing. I would say the cons are really the fact that it's not super accurate, where it might not get the color perfectly unless you have really, really good lighting. and it's going to use a lot of filler adjectives, which I personally don't love using. I don't love when you're just describing things, you know, using like beautiful or cute or things like that. I think there are better words to use than those kind of words, and I don't think they really add much to the listing. So I am definitely going to take those out every time that I use the Smart List AI. I'm not going to put those filler words in. I'm only going to put in words that I think are going to be, you know, words that people are searching, like such as chic or things like that, that actually kind of add something to the listing. So overall, I'm very excited that I have this tool, but I do know that there are some flaws that definitely need to be worked out. And I think with more practice and more, you know, times that it gets used, it will actually get smarter and smarter over time. That's kind of how AI works. But I do think this is a good start, and I'm finally excited that I have this because I've been waiting for a long time. And like I mentioned in the beginning, if you don't have access to it yet, you will by the end of this month. So just stay tuned and you'll get it. Let me know your thoughts down below if you've used it, if you don't like it, because I've heard really, really mixed reviews. I've heard some people love it, some people hate it. Some people just find it like a, you know, good start to coming up with their title and listing. Some people, you know, don't find it helpful at all. I think I expected it to be a little bit better, but I am still excited that it exists, but I did expect it to have a little bit more capabilities than it did. And I guess that was just something I didn't know what to expect, so I guess I was just over expecting with it. But I definitely do think I will be using it. I don't know if I'll use it for every listing because I feel like there are certain listings that I don't really need help with. But if I'm really struggling to, you know, come up with a description for a piece, or I'm really just, you know, low on time, I may use this just to help me a little bit get a head start on the listing and just kind of maybe come up with some better keywords to use. So hopefully you found this video helpful, and hopefully you now have access to the tool as well. Let me know down below if you like it, if you don't like it, and what your thoughts are on this tool. And like I said in the beginning of this video, make sure that you're subscribed because I do new update videos like this all the time when new features come out, and they've been pushing a lot of new updates recently, and so I'm always going to be covering those videos. So if that is something that is interesting to you, definitely make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss those videos. And if you want to see another video on maybe some reasons why your listings aren't selling and what you can do to fix them, you can click right here. And if you want to see another video on the future of reselling on Poshmark in 2025 and what you really need to focus on to have the most success on the platform, you can click right here. I actually talk about this Smart List AI tool in that video as well. So definitely make sure you watch those two videos. But until next time, I will see you then.